Raise your hand if you ever was given a task and you didn't know why. Is there anybody who has that happened? All right, there's a few of you here. That's great. So this is a common occurrence with all companies, corporate companies, startups. I experienced it at Dell, Sony, and across many of the startups that I worked for. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to share sharing the importance of why. So one of the things that I try to do is I always want to make sure that I am looking at why I'm sharing it as an importance, right? So because we are humans, we deserve to know why. So according to Gallup.com, there's a report of 70% of workers are emotionally disconnected at work. So that means that a large majority of people at work are actually not performing. And this is a huge problem across the board, from startups to large corporations. So knowing why gives us purpose, clarity, engagement, and vision. So we need to have a purpose in life to know where we're contributing to a greater purpose. So there's been a statistic that 15% of people who have purpose, it decreases our chances of death. So that's one of the reasons why having a purpose in life is very, very important. And I'm going to go ahead and share on the next slide how people in Okinawa, Japan have used purpose to live longer. So this is Ikagi. So Ikagi is something that provides people purpose. So it's a cross between what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. So these are the main 4 categories that Ikagi is about. So you can see these quadrants right here are more the subcategories. So in between what you can be paid for and what you're good at is your profession, and then what you love and what the world needs is kind of your mission. So in Okinawa, Japan, this is the highest number of centurions over 100 years old. So people who are living over 100 years old in the world, this is where they reside as a majority. So one of the reasons why they feel like they live so long is every day when they wake up, they have some kind of purpose. So they're going to work or they're waking up with a purpose of going to work and doing something that's meaningful, right? So when I'm talking about this is something that I struggled with even when I was younger. First cutting out of school is I worked for a large corporation with over 100,000 people, and I was very task-oriented. I didn't know why I was doing it, but I was picking up tasks and doing it. So this caused me to think about why I need to do things and giving people why they need to do things. So the next thing that happens when you describe why is you get clarity. So some of the points of clarity that you can provide are, what are they trying to achieve by doing this? So for example, if you're trying to create a website and scale the website to 10 million users, that's what you're trying to achieve as a company. What is my role in participating? Am I going to be a contributor? Will I be able to be somebody who can put my name on the product and be proud of it? It also provides a lot of context. And context as meaning is, say you're building a wall, and I have some examples later on. You're building a wall, but you only know the portion you're working on is a wall. But there could be a greater context such as you're building a fence or you're building a house that you're contributing to. And then another thing is, who is this for? So who's the audience, right? So your audience could be a stakeholder, your audience could be millions of people on the web. There's many different audiences as a stakeholder or as a user on the web. And then the last and final one is, why are we doing this? So what are we trying to achieve by creating this and putting it out there? The most common for companies is really revenue. So especially for startups, we need to be able to show we have revenue and grow revenue. So the last and final one is very important. Actually, this is the second to last final one. But this is engagement. So engagement is very important because it keeps people happy at work and engaged. You're investing in people, you're telling them why you're doing things. It provides a sense of ownership. So when you know the greater story or purpose, your ownership is held by your own accountability. For example, if you're not finishing a project on time, or if your craftsmanship is bad. Next is collaboration. So collaboration, the ability to collaborate with other people is knowing what you're doing outside of your context. So for example, a UI engineer is working on their UI front end, and you have a back-end engineer who's also working on the back end. So being able to collaborate and know what the greater purpose of this product allows people to understand what they're building, and even allows them to be able to design it better for that user. It also incorporates contributions of ideas and improvements, and the way that it does this is one good example is gmail.com. So Gmail was a Google project that was a side project, and one thing an employee did was, this was something he created just out of his free time. So this was a contribution of an idea that was not company mandated or was on the company roadmap. The other item here is respect and trust. So a lot of times when you're respected in a company and the company trusts you, they'll share information that is secretive or information that is not accessible to everybody. For example, if you're working on the iPhone, a lot of information is kept secret. There's a lot of things where engineers who are sent out are not able to release these secrets, because if they are exposed, it could then leak to other competitors such as Samsung or LG. Self-direction. So self-direction is another key attribute of the ability to control your own destiny, right? So controlling your own destiny is very, very important in terms of your own passion, your own fulfillment, being able to do things that you like to do, but being in control of those things. So this is a diagram with a stats. As I mentioned in the first slide, so about 70% of workers are disengaged at work. You could see that 29% are engaged and actually rowing the boat. 52% are not engaged and they're not really contributing, but they're still on the ship. And 19% are actually jumping off the ship or looking for other jobs. So I thought this is a pretty funny infographic. Also, the caption is, they're all in the same boat, but they have different engagements. Some are rowing, some are not rowing, and some are jumping off the ship. Some drive it and some jump off it. So that was something that I found that was pretty funny. All right. So one thing that when you explain why is sharing your vision. So vision is key when you're executive or you're in a management position of being able to show people what's down the line. I have some examples later in the slide how we can project vision as leaders, and we can go through that. So vision allows us to show where we're going in the long-term and short-term roadmap. And when we will get there. So a lot of times your vision will state which quarter a product will be launched, or a lot of times your vision will have a time-based and revenue-based outcome. How do we get there? So with your vision, usually you don't provide how you get there, but in your product roadmap, you want to describe how you're going to get there. You're going to describe how long it's going to take and all the different dependencies and core attributes that you need for that project. All right, and then employee buy-in, which is the last one. So making sure that employees are bought into your company is key, because that includes people who are disengaged and you can re-engage them by sharing your vision, by sharing your passion for what you're doing, and lighting a fire for everybody to kind of see the light. All right, so there are different levels of understanding of why. So this one on the my right-hand side is laying bricks. So this is an understanding of just laying bricks of somebody who's just putting it like a task-oriented person. So we'll pick up a brick, we'll put in some of the cement, and then we'll lay another brick. That's the most basic understanding of why. Then you have building a wall. So building a wall is a little bit more advanced, where you're understanding that you need a wall that's 8 by 10, and you know how many bricks it's going to take. So that is the next level of understanding. Finally, building a house is the last level of understanding. This is where you have all your blueprints, you have all your plans and electrical plans. And with that wall, you're able to build a completely brick house. So these are the different levels of actually understanding why. And I kind of wanted to go through how we're going to, wait, what is that, 15? Oh, 15, oh, sorry. I wanted to go through how we're going to actually create these in a tech environment and startup. So I wanted to share how we do this at Disco. So at Disco, we create milestones for our company. We're actually going to be having our all hands, I believe in the next couple of weeks, where the CEO would be sharing our milestones for the company. Usually for startups, it's usually revenue generated or active users. So this is a sample of milestones for a company. So usually it's growing your revenue, expanding and growing staff by how many X, getting X number of clients by a quarter, and building a global presence by a quarter. So that includes being able to have different offices around the world. There's different reasons for that. Number one is cost savings. Number two is to kind of build a presence across the globe, so you can further your reach. And then finally, the number of signups, which, you know, it's not as a key metric as much as revenue. Revenue in active users is usually the number one scale of like being able to measure. Because right now, for example, Uber's they don't have any kind of profit. They only have revenue. They're still growing their revenue, but they don't have any profit. So as long as companies are growing their revenue, you can see that they are improving and being able to expand their ventures. All right, so on the product side, we have a product roadmap. So this is going to align from your milestones. From your milestones, this is your map of how to figure out how we're going to hit those milestones. So how are we going to get to X amount of revenue? So usually a product roadmap is divided into the different quarters. So Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So this is a sample roadmap of all the different things that we need to build across the different teams. For example, web marketing team. So the different items here are based on timeline and priority. And usually a product manager would go ahead and create your product roadmap and share it across the whole organization. That's what we're trying to do at Disco, is we're trying to provide people clarity, accountability, and being able to communicate what we're doing as a company as a whole. All right, so on the team level, it's mostly user stories. So this is very popular within Agile and Scrum shop. I'm sure many of you have used Agile and Scrum. Raise your hands if you guys are using Agile and Scrum at your company. Okay, great. Yeah, a number of you are using Agile and Scrum. So on the user story side, you have an actor. So as a role, what do you want? For this one example, you want a sales report of an account to be sent to an inbox later, daily. And what is the benefit that it's providing people, right? So for this example, it's monitoring the sales progress of my customer portfolio. So in a short way, this is able to show who is your customer, what they want, and what the outcome is going to be when you actually deliver the product. So it's a good way of actually sharing things in a short format instead of change the color to red, right? So it gives people context and understanding. So this is on a team level where you're sharing this with developers, with your QA team, UI engineers. Okay, and where can this be applied? So this can be applied everywhere. So as a mother, as a father, when your child asks you why you need to do this, or you're telling them to do something, adding the why explains them and gives them the kind of context that they need to understand and kind of grow to understand why. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay, it only goes that way. All right. All right. As a product manager, you're sharing your vision. So one of the things that is important as a product manager is to get your team on board and to understand your product vision. So understanding your product vision is key to really firing up your team, to making sure that they're understanding what they're contributing on a bigger level. And as an engineer, so as an engineer is how you're building your products and why you're building your products, right? What is the logic between your code and how does it act with others' code bases, right? So explaining that to other engineers who need to use your code base, or are you sharing your code base as you're working on code? And then as a manager, so as a manager, when you're sharing your vision and being able to articulate that out to the broader company, I think the most important thing is really being able to share that with the team, being able to get the team fired up, and also making sure that you're doing it on a regular cadence. All right. And that's it for me. I wanted to share this information because I felt like this was something that a lot of people can use in terms of daily life, but also your personal career. Thank you. Are there any questions from anybody about the content? No? There's no questions? All right, thank you.